What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bolero. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Gablim, and the Prophet, Mr. Maui Up. What's up? Crazy NBA playoff so far.
Let's go, Joel Embiid! Let's go, Joel!
Ini-fake
I
na daw
hope
na injuries niya.
those... sana Maui kasi parang every time may matumba sa tuhod niya, naglilimp na siya nung Game 7, kinakabahan ako. I was just holding my breath the whole time. So hopefully those knees will stand up to the test of time and it will survive the entire playoff series against the Knicks. So today, we're talking about it already. We're going to do a round 2 playoff preview of all the remaining 8 teams in the playoffs. We're going by schedule. We'll talk about the first 2 games tomorrow. And I want to start with, speaking of Joel Embiid, I want to start with his 76ers versus the Knicks, which I think is going to be one of the more exciting games in round 2 of the playoffs. Maui, what do you think about Knicks versus Sixers? What are you looking out for? What are you most excited about? And maybe give us your prediction at the end. Nakamute ka, Maui. Ayan.
You're on mute, Maui. Yeah.
Actually, maganda si Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid have already started yung trash talking.
The rivalry.
Si Joel Embiid has the number of Karl Anthony Towns. I think this all started when Jimmy Butler transferred pa to Philly. This trash talking with Karl Anthony Towns and a welcome sight. I like the Boston Celtics, but I like the Philadelphia 76ers more in these playoffs. Parang Boston was just over-relying on three-point shooting. And I think, I don't want to jinx it, but I think this could be the year that Embiid goes over the second round. So I'm saying my early prediction is that the Philadelphia 76ers will get to the conference finals. I think Embiid will dominate Karl Anthony Towns. VJ Edgecombe has been fantastic. Tyrese Maxey is playing like an MVP candidate, which he has been the whole season. I would know. I have him in most of my fantasy teams. And fortunately, I was able to win some of them because of him. But yeah, I really like how the starting lineup of the Sixers have performed in the playoffs. I would even say si Paul George has been very underrated as a defender. I think a lot of the struggles of Tatum and Jaylen Brown was because of the phenomenal defense of Paul George. We're seeing him transforming into a role player, but still a very good defender. Not the first option Paul George, not the playoff Paul George, not the MVP Paul George, but a defensive player type of Paul George. And I like the balance in the starting lineup of Philadelphia. I think the Knicks will struggle if Embiid will have a big series. The Knicks only have Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. If Embiid can get them into foul trouble, I think that the Sixers will have a good chance. I like also that they have a lot of momentum going into this series. They're fired up, and if there's a year that Joel Embiid finally gets to the second round, I think this is it. They have to go all in this series. Yeah.
You mean conference finals, Maui? Hindi second round. They're in the second round na.
Get over the second round, I mean. Get to the conference finals.
Yeah, if you ask me, the X factor, yung sabi nga ni Maui for me is Paul George for the Philadelphia 76ers. If we get the version of Paul George, which we had in the Boston Celtics series, I think the Sixers are going to be in good shape. But siguro the biggest X factor, siguro si Paul George is a minor X factor. The biggest X factor is Joel Embiid's health. If he's healthy, I'm actually favoring the Sixers here. I don't think Cat can defend Joel Embiid. So Robin probably. I don't think he can defend Joel Embiid as well. I think Joel Embiid is a different monster when he's healthy, when his mid-range is on lock, when he's trying to the basket. He was just um, inuubos niya yung Celtics bigs nung last round. And I think Cat Mitchell Robinson will be having a hard time containing Joel Embiid, especially if he's this sharp, this healthy. He's not as mobile, but if he can get to his post ups, his hook shots, his turnaround fadeaways, and playmake off the post, and then PG, Edgecombe, and Maxi can play off him, I think they will definitely be on top. For the Knicks, uh, they got to get something out of Bridges. He had a good game when they blew out the Hawks by 50. A good game, quote unquote, decent compared to what he was performing. But if they could get around 15 points at least from Mikal Bridges, and he's able to stay on the floor and not get benched, I think they will take turns on Tyrese Maxey, him and OG. Uh, Probably some Josh Hart will be there, but ang kailangan din is they have a lot. The Knicks have a lot to guard on the Sixers. The Sixers have a lot of weapons. This is when they're all healthy. Anyone on the court is a threat. They have George, Edgecombe, Embiid. After that, si Grimes, si Liubre, si Maxi. Everyone can hit threes. Everyone can get a bucket on their own. So it's gonna be a nice matchup. Given Embiid's health now, seeing how healthy he is, I like the chances. The Knicks have to hit threes because if they don't hit threes, they're gonna be in a 2-point battle with the Sixers, and I think the Sixers are gonna win that battle, especially with Embiid there.
Yeah, I think for me, this is one of the most exciting matchups in round 2 of the playoffs. Just na-mention ni Maui yung history, yung rivalry between Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. Kat, there's a lot of beef there. Naalala ko, they were wrestling before sa isang game like a couple of years ago. So they've trash talked each other on Twitter or X. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. The big question is, will Kat be guarding Embiid actually? Because we know Kat is not really the best defensive big, but he was actually pretty decent during the Hawks series. So I do want to see that big man matchup. The big question for me is Maxi. Gab, you mentioned the Knicks have a ton of guys that they can throw at him to guard Maxi, who are a lot bigger, guys like OG, si Bridges, and also Josh Hart. Maybe throw in a couple minutes of Jose Alvarado just to annoy the hell out of him, or maybe even Jose Alvarado versus Joel Embiid. You know how annoying Alvarado is, so maybe he can get a tech or something from Embiid. So that could be interesting for me, but I think Maxi was so good nung first round against Boston, especially in Game 7. I don't think anyone can match yung speed ni Maxi on the 76ers. Maganda yung na-mention nyo, Gab, about Paul George. I think he's been a revelation. He looked washed about a year ago. But
Don't be surprised if he's assigned Jalen Brunson. I think siya yung maging main matchup ni Jalen Brunson.
Well, he's been really good defensively, as Maui mentioned. So I wouldn't be surprised. Talk about yung two timelines, no? Yung maganda dito sa Sixers is you have the old guys, the old stars, Paul George and Joel Embiid, and then you have the two younger ones, si Maxi and Edgecombe. And Maui, I know you've been super high on Edgecombe. You've talked about him a ton of time. This is crazy. He doesn't look like a rookie to me. The way he plays so composed. Playing his first playoffs, playing his first season in the NBA. Galing. Solid si Edgecombe. So, I really like what I'm seeing from the Sixers, but I'm going with the Knicks. Maybe they can win this in 6 or 7 games. I'm expecting it to be a long series.
Muna yung prediction sa amin. Wait lang.
Wait lang, nagprediction na si Maui. Nagprediction na rin si Maui. I'm going with the Knicks.
Fine.
I'm worried about yung health of the Sixers, yung longevity of the Sixers. We know the Sixers mostly play their core five or six players. We've talked about that before. If this is what, like every other day ba or like every 2 days yung games, I'm really worried about Joel Embiid because when I was watching him, for some reason, parang magnet yung tuhod niya. Pag may nahuhulog na player, dun nahuhulog sa tuhod niya. So, I don't know why that is, but the people keep on falling on his knees. So, I hope he survives. Gab, sige, Gab, ikaw na. Ano prediction mo?
I was gonna ask, what are some key matchups or keys to winning the series for the Knicks or the Sixers? Ako, for the Knicks, how are they gonna cover for Jalen Brunson? We saw this in the Atlanta series that they target Jalen on defense. I think you're gonna see the same, especially with Tyrese Maxey has the ball. You saw it in Game 7 against the Celtics. Tyrese Maxey was hunting for was hunting for Sam Hauser. Whenever he was on the floor, he wanted to get yung Derek White off him. He wanted to get Jaylen Brown off him. He just wanted to target, and he knew that Boston was gonna switch. I think New York's gonna also and the weakest defender in that starting five is Jalen Brunson. So expect guys like Paul George, guys like Edgecombe, guys, especially Maxey. He's gonna want to target Jalen Brunson on defense. So how are the Knicks gonna cover for that? The key to winning for the Sixers for me, I think we've all mentioned it, is Joel Embiid's health. He has to stay on the floor. As I said, may halong malas talaga si Joel Embiid for his whole career. He's in the second round. He looks healthy now, but who knows when disaster will strike? Who knows, will he get poked in the eye again, or he'll get another laceration? He was lacerated by Joel Embiid, I think, or Pascal Siakam in one of the playoff series run. It cost him a couple of games also. So who knows if that happens also with Joel Embiid here. So that's going to be the keys to winning for me, especially for the next Sixers. Sige, magpe-prediction na rin ako since the prediction na kayong dalawa. Sixers and 6 ako. 6-6. Hindi 6-7.
Ako, Sixers in 7. The Sixers will beat the Knicks in Madison Square Garden in Game 7. And yeah, just to add to Gab, I think he touched on it a while ago. I think outside shooting will play a big part in this series. I think if the wings of the Knicks go hot, namely Bridges and Hart, the Knicks will play a short rotation. If those guys score more than they are usually accustomed to scoring, I think the Knicks have a good chance of beating the Sixers, even if Embiid is healthy. I think that's where they unlock their full potential. But I still think that the Sixers have that edge with Embiid. And I think the biggest thing for them is getting that balance, diba? With Embiid. Will Edgecombe and Paul George still get enough touches to be effective? I think when all four of them are clicking, much like Game 7 against Boston, I think the Sixers are a dangerous team. I think they could be an underdog contender in the championship contender here in the playoffs. But if you're a Sixers fan, I think it's time to pray the rosary. Hopefully the curse is over and Embiid will be able to play out the whole series, because that series against Boston shifted when Embiid started playing, and if he starts playing well, if he gets to play 30 to 35 minutes per game, I think they have a pretty good chance of dismantling this New York team.
All right. So Sixers in 6 or 7 is what I'm hearing. Let's move on to the next game. Let's talk about Spurs versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota obviously upsetting the Denver Nuggets despite being super short-handed. Unfortunately, they will still be short-handed against the Spurs. Obviously, Dante DiVincenzo is out for the entire playoffs. Anthony Edwards for Ant, I think questionable. He's listed as questionable, but realistically, they're expecting him to return in game 3 or 4. So, probably the first 2 games he will be out. Let's go with Gab this time. Thoughts on the Spurs versus Wolves? Things to watch out for.
Things to watch out for. Definitely the Wembanyama versus Rudy Gobert matchup. Rudy was awesome against Nikola Jokic. How is he gonna fare against his fellow Frenchman who supplanted him in the French national team? Remember, Gobert was benched in the
How
Olympics
dare you?
In favor of Wemby. So will Rudy want to prove himself? Now, hey, I'm still the number one center in the French national team. I'm still the number one French guy in
May
terms of
beef pala
centers.
eh, no?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're friends. I mean, they are teammates. They are countrymen, but I don't know if they're actually friends or is there a big brother, little brother relationship there. But he's definitely gonna be matched up with Wemby. I can't imagine you'll put a guy like Nas Reed or Julius Randle. Well, maybe Nas Reed will will get a little bit of time on him, but see Rudy will have to stay on him for majority of the series. Um, because honestly, that's their front line. To a guy like Noah Berenger next, I don't another French guy, but I don't think that that's gonna be break the glass in case of emergency thing for the Wolves. For the Spurs, um, which the Aaron Fox are we gonna get? There are times in the season he takes a step back, but you saw at the end of the Blazers series, you saw the flashes of the Kings. Fox, the guy who took over at the end, who wanted the ball was in his hand, and he was taking shots, he was making shots, um, just making all the plays in crunch time. Will we get that version of Aaron Fox in this series? Uh, I'm looking forward to that. They have a ton of other guards: Steph Castle, Vassell, Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, yung coming off the bench. I'm looking for Fox to have a big series, especially if he's going up against Anthony Edwards. I do expect that Jaden McDaniels will start on him. Let's see if he can put on the clamps like what he did to Jamal Murray in for the majority of the Denver series. Can the Aaron Fox shake off Jaden McDaniels? Can he actually have a good impact on this series? So that's good. So that's something that has to be watched for me. For the Spurs, they have to hit threes just to make space and give Wemby room to operate. So low key for me is going to be Julian. Can he hit threes? Yeah, he has to knock down threes and be a threat. Devin Vassell has to be that. Harrison Barnes, if ever he gets more playing time, he has to do that. So, but for the Wolves, man, the key they just have to get some guys back. I don't think they can beat this this Spurs team the way they're constructed now because they just lack players. Kyle Anderson was even injured in game 6 against the Nuggets. I didn't even know that. So that's another front court option that they could go to. So he needs to get back on the court. Si Ayo needs to get back on the court. We all know DiVincenzo is not there. Without even a semblance of their real team, I don't think the Wolves are gonna go far in this series.
Maui.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing that Minnesota has to work on. The health of their players coming back. I think the Somnu, Edwards, and Kyle Anderson have to go get back in the court. I think that si Jaden McDaniels is again the X factor. Minnesota is just a different team when this guy is aggressive and scoring 20 points a game. I think that is doable given that the Spurs like to play small ball lineups, and he will have to take advantage of his matchups on also on the offensive end. For the Spurs, I think we will have to see the Aaron Fox and the two other Dragons, the two other guards, young guards, step up. I love how Dylan Harper stepped up during the first round in situations where Castle and Fox were struggling. If these three guys are clicking, and if these three guys are scoring from all three levels, I think the Spurs have a pretty good chance of dethroning the Minnesota defense. I think Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Champagny, all the wing guys and Vassell have to step up. Keldon Johnson, after being named the sixth man of the year, struggled heavily in the first round. I think he will have to be better if he wants to get the Spurs to a deep playoff run. I think si Wemby will have a good series, but we've seen Rudy Gobert make a player of Nikola Jokic struggle, and I'm interested to see how he does against Victor Wembanyama in round two. But let's see. Let's see how it unfolds. I think that Minnesota being the underdog also is a good thing for them. They have to be very aggressive from the get-go in every game. The Spurs have a deeper lineup definitely than them, but they have enough firepower. If the Somnu and Anthony Edwards comes back, I think that I'm happy that si Edwards is questionable, because you don't want a series that you don't want San Antonio sweeping this series. We want to get a good series. They were able to eliminate Denver despite not having some of their key guys, and I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves have their dog in them. The problem is, do they have the endurance to fight this San Antonio Spurs, who is deep as hell? They have all kinds of options: slashing guards, slashing wings, wings who have experience like Harrison Barnes, wings who are 3-point shooters like Champagny and Vassell. They have so much versatility versus that Denver Nuggets team, who I thought over relied on Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in round one. So let's see. But I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves have a chance. I think it's not as far as people might say.
Yeah, I think the Spurs are heavily favored. Most people are picking the Spurs, but we've seen how Minnesota has performed even better when they're the underdogs against the Nuggets. So definitely my fighting chance. I think for Minnesota to win, you guys mentioned it, guys coming back from injury, especially guys like Dosunmu and Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards in the 3 games that they played during the season averaged 37 points against the Spurs. So imagine mo yung production na yon against that you can get from a guy like Ant coming back. So obvious X factor there, but for Minnesota, na mention mo Maui and si McDaniels, Gab mentioned Gobert. I guess for me, like the other guys, can the other guys have another amazing game like si Dosunmu having that crazy, what was that, game 5, I think, game 4, and then si Shannon also helping out close the Nuggets. So if you're undermanned, sino yung magsi-step up? Mike Conley? Are we gonna see a Mike Conley, vintage Mike Conley? He was kind of decent the last game.
He blocked Cam Johnson. Everyone thought he made a block, but yung pala foul.
Foul. Are we gonna get vintage Mike Conley? I can't believe he's playing heavy minutes for the Wolves. So that's it for Minnesota. I think it's really just the health, at least getting some of their guys back. Unfortunately, wala na si DiVincenzo. For the Spurs, I would pick the Spurs, just like everyone else. Maybe Spurs in 6, just because Minnesota is also pretty good kahit na undermanned. siguro for me, what I'm worried about the Spurs is complacency. Maybe they might underestimate Minnesota, or maybe the relatively young Spurs might show some inexperience. But I don't think so. I don't think so. Maui, you mentioned a couple of vets. Si Barnes has been an NBA veteran. Fox has played in a couple of playoffs. Wemby, I know this is his first, but I think he's done a lot of very competitive games globally, diba? So I sort of trust Wemby here. So for me, this is the Spurs to lose. I'm probably picking them in 6. Gab.
Si Sammy yung nag-predict agad eh. So sige, yung mag-predict na rin ako. I think the West, the two semifinal series in the West, and we'll go probably to the Lakers and the Thunder later. They're probably going to be less interesting than the East matchups because I don't think Dosunmu has a calf injury and was able to play in Game 7. You don't get back from it's a calf strain and they're just not telling us. So I don't think he's gonna get back in time for at least, depending on what grade of a strain it is. He's playing the start of the series. Si Edwards is questionable. Who remember he injured the opposite knee of what was already injured. The one he had runner's knee, and he had runner's knee on his right. He was having trouble there. He was going to the locker room, to the dugout, to bike and stretch it out every time he stopped out. That wasn't the one that was hyperextended. So he now has two knees that are injured. So Sammy, you mentioned he averaged a ton of points in the regular season against the Timberwolves, against the Spurs. I don't think we're getting that version of Anthony Edwards here. I don't think the Wolves are healthy enough to even approximate the depth and just overall talent of the Spurs. I think the Spurs win this in 5. I'm gonna give the Wolves one game. They have one of the explosions from Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle. I give them one game, but I just don't see them going far against a pretty heavy Spurs team.
Maui, your pick.
Yeah, ako I'd probably agree with Gab. I'll give the Spurs a gentleman sweep 4-1. I think there are so many things happening in Minnesota, so many injuries. Yet the Spurs have no issues right now. Everyone is healthy. A lot of these guys have had great games. Not just Wembanyama. A lot of these guys have had great games in the first round. To a certain degree, si Fox and Barnes pa nga are the ones that haven't had good games in the first round. But the young guns, Castle has had a great game. Dylan Harper has had a great game. Wembanyama, as always, will be a factor in the defensive end. Will have a great game. I think si Wembanyama will also be fired up to face against one of the more senior members, diba, of the French national team. I think he will be fired up to show that he can handle Gobert, because the added motivation was Jokic wasn't able to during the first round. Jokic did not look like a shell of himself, not the MVP Jokic in the first round. I'm a bit sure si Wembanyama is fired up and wants to show that he is a legitimate MVP contender now that the Spurs are contending. But both Dosunmu and Edwards are questionable for the game tomorrow. So I think that in itself is a big disadvantage. The Minnesota Timberwolves have to get a game off the Spurs to get some confidence and momentum going. But let's see, maybe the Timberwolves surprise us for the second straight series. It would take huge games by Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels. I think maybe another game by Terence Shannon that surprised us. But it would take a very huge game by Randle and McDaniels for them to have a chance. I think si Randle has to be more consistent in the second round. He had a good game. He had some great games against the Spurs during the regular season. He has to take advantage of his matchup. Remember, the Spurs don't play a traditional power forward. So he has to bully and he has to have a big game. Not necessarily a huge scoring game. Maybe I think in one of the games during the regular season he had 12 assists in that game. And for the Wolves to have a chance, I think he has to have that game. Even si Naz Reid will probably have to have a big game, especially if Gobert struggles against Wembanyama. They will probably have to play 5 out because Wembanyama's effect on paint touches, paint field goal percentages is so crazy all throughout the season. So they will have to hit a lot of outside shots. They will have to get to the basket, force Wembanyama to play outside. So let's see, but so many questions again for the Timberwolves. The one thing going for the Spurs is they just have to perform. They just don't have to act like first timers in the playoffs. They don't have to. They just have to take advantage of their talent and not think about the experience that this Minnesota team has, because this team has gone to the conference finals, diba, multiple seasons,
multiple times.
They should not take them lightly, as you mentioned, Sam. And if they do all that, I think they can easily beat the Timberwolves, especially if Edwards and the Sumnu are not 100% healthy.
Okay, moving on. So all of us picking the Spurs. So moving on, let's go back to the East. Another interesting matchup. Detroit coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Magic, winning that game, winning that series, and facing the sino nga kalaban nila? Cleveland Cavaliers. Sasabihin ko Toronto Raptors. Sasabihin ko dapat bakit Toronto Raptors? Sabi ko parang mali. Facing the Cleveland Cavaliers, winning that game 7 earlier. So Cavs versus Detroit. Detroit has the home court advantage. Maui, let's go with you. Keys to the game for you, Detroit versus Cavs?
I think si James Harden is a guy that should step up in the second round. He had an abysmal game 7, but the Cavs were still able to win that game. I think for the Pistons, si Tobias Harris showed his value the game 7 game today, and I think they will have to step up. Jalen Duren will have to have a better series. I think that's crazy to say now that he's going up against two-headed monsters, si Allen and si Mobley during the second round. But I think he has to have a better second round than the first round. He struggled with the speed and versatility of the bigs of Orlando. I think he has to do a better job. I think si Duncan Robinson has to bounce back also for Detroit. But I think Detroit has the momentum also, being able to go to the second round after being down 3-1. I think they figure out their identity for the playoffs. I think si Cade Cunningham has been fantastic. He was he really emphasized getting his teammates going during the first quarter in today's game, but still ended up, I think, with 30 points today. I think he will be very key. His matchup against Donovan Mitchell in the second round is something that I'm looking out for. I think both guys are capable of scoring 30 points per game in this series. I think si Asar Thompson will be tasked to probably guard Donovan Mitchell, and I'm interested to see how impactful Asar Thompson will be. I think he was averaging 2 steals and 2 blocks and 9 rebounds during the first round. That's the only way you can play if you don't have shooting in the playoffs as a wing player. I'm interested to see if he can carry on that defensive masterpiece during the first round. I think for the Cavs, much like the Celtics, they heavily rely on hitting their outside shots. If Sam Merrill, if James Harden, if Donovan Mitchell, if Max Strus are hot, I think they have a pretty good chance against this very tough Detroit defense. I think that will be very key for the Cavs. If they cannot hit their outside shot, they will have to overly rely on pick and rolls generated by James Harden. And I think they are more dangerous if they hit their outside shots. But I think this series is probably, I don't know if this is more exciting than the Knicks Cavs, but I think the Knicks Sixers, but I think this series has the potential to also 7 games. Imagine 2 back-to-back 7 games for the Cavs and the Pistons. I think that has the potential. If you're looking at historical context, this is a throwback to the Bad Boys versus LeBron James, 'di ba? Yung Cavs and Pistons, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is a low scoring series.
Oh,
Ganda ng throwback. Go, Gab.
ganda. Ako, for the Cavs, I think Maui said they have to hit threes. I think that's their one distinct advantage versus the Pistons. They have more shooters, and they rely a lot on the 3-point shot to get their offense going. If you watch their game a while ago against the Raptors in Game 7, they made their run in the third quarter. One, because they were hitting their threes a lot. Sila Sam Merrill, Max Strus, yung Jalen Tyson, Donovan Mitchell, they started hitting their threes in the third quarter. And Jarrett Allen got them going, especially from the junction of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter. Especially when si Jakob Pearl was out of the game and Colin Murray Boyles was their center. Jarrett Allen dominated. I don't think that's going to be the case. The Pistons are a low-key good matchup on the interior because they have some bigs to throw out there. They have Beef Stew. They have Jalen Duren. They have Paul Hayden, who had some good minutes in Game 6 and Game 7. So, I don't think they're going to get pounded on the inside. I do think they even have the physicality matchup advantage against the Cavs. Mobley and Allen are sometimes called soft for a reason because sometimes they don't bring the physicality from a game-to-game basis. So, I'm looking for, as Maui said, let's see how Jalen responds. He didn't respond well to how physical the Orlando Magic was. How physical guys like Wendell Carter, Goga, Paquero, how physical those guys were against him. He didn't really respond well. He had a ton of shit games in the series. I think his series against the Magic was 12 points. So that's going to be a problem if he's still going to get 12 points per game against the Cavs. On the Cavs side, I'm interested to see who is defending Cade Cunningham. Because look at their starting five. Are you going to put James Harden? The one guy who defended Cade Cunningham pretty well in the Orlando Magic series, and I think one of the big reasons why they went up 3-1 against the Pistons was Franz Wagner. And when Franz Wagner got injured, that's when the series started to fall apart because Cade started to see smaller defenders. He was having smaller or slower defenders. He was having Desmond Bain on him, si Paolo Banchero, who's a bit slower than Cade. Sila Kane, yun yung guy, si Jalen Suggs, who's smaller than him. I don't think the Cavs have a good matchup for him. You'll probably see a guy like Jalen Tyson have bigger minutes in this series compared to his playing time against the Raptors because I think they're going to need him defensively. They're going to need his physicality. He's not as tall, but he is taller than a guy like Schroeder, Mitchell, Harden. I don't think Harden has the quickness or the defensive acumen just to keep up with Cade Cunningham. I mean, he's never been a defender. Si Donovan Mitchell, I think he's too small for Cade. I don't think you're gonna put guys like Max Strus or Sam Merrill on Cade Cunningham. He's gonna eat them alive. So I think their best bet is going to Jalen Tyson. Dean Wade, I don't think he's quick enough for Cade Cunningham. So that's gonna be an interesting wrinkle for me for the Cavs. I think they can keep it up on the interior, but how are they gonna stop Cade? Because the offense for the Pistons was essentially Cade Cunningham for majority of that Magic series. You can insert to Tobias Harris in Game 7 because I think that was the only time he had a hot shooting game. For the rest of that series, he was actually pretty cold from yung 3-point range. So interesting. I'm in how the Cavs are gonna spread out their minutes. Who are they gonna give minutes to? Because they have to keep up defensively. Sam.
Yeah. I like this matchup as Maui mentioned. I like the Bigs matchup. Tama ka, Gab, no? Like actually yun yung knock on the two bigs of the Cavs. Sometimes they've been called soft. A ton of times, hindi sometimes. A ton of times they've been called soft. So I like how Detroit is very physical. So the question is, can the Cavs match up to the physicality of Detroit? What I will say is, I think it was a good test for them against Toronto because Toronto is also very physical. And they're one of the top defenses during the season. So I think it was a good way to start the playoffs with against Toronto for the Cavs to get ready for Detroit. But Detroit is the number one seed. Si Cade Cunningham, it's hard. Parang wala akong mapiling pwedeng magbantay kay Cade sa Cavs. And actually,
Jalen
Gab,
Tyson is your best bet.
Tyson
Your boy,
probably. Si
Keon
Tyson
Oiles.
probably. Ma-
Keon, I think
mal-
he's too small though.
Maliit din eh. Even Schroeder eh, no?
See,
Maliit.
if you want a good comparison, Maui, I think si Jalen Suggs is a very similar player defensively to Keon Ellis, but he's just too small.
Too
Cade can
small
shoot
for
over
Cade.
him, and that was majority. That was primarily what Cade was doing to Jalen Suggs in when Franz Wagner got injured. He was shooting over Jalen Suggs.
And that resulted in Cunningham scoring like 45, 32, and 32 in the last three wins of Detroit. So it's going to be a tough defensive matchup for the Cavs. Si Cade Cunningham. One thing I do want to mention, I think sa Zach Loto nabanggit, I want to see the battle of the Miami Heat shooters. Max Strus versus Duncan Robinson, former Miami Heat shooters. I think they could be big for them, especially Detroit getting some shooting then. For Detroit, my question is si Tobias Harris. Are we gonna get to see another Game 7 Tobias Harris just like what we saw last time? Because he's been inconsistent, diba? Even in Philadelphia, you can ask the Philadelphia fans. They love to hate on Tobias Harris. So, Detroit needs him because he's clearly the second best offensive guy on that team. So we need to see a consistent Tobias Harris to help out Cade Cunningham if they want to win this series. I do want Detroit to win and I'm sort of hoping Philadelphia will also win so that we can see Tobias versus his former team Philadelphia in the conference finals. But I think this will be a close one. I agree with Maui. I think this is also going to be an interesting game. So if let's do predictions now. If I were to pick, maybe Detroit in 6 or 7. It's going to go to 6 or 7 games.
Decide one. You can't have 6 or
Sige,
7.
6. 6. Detroit in 6.
I hope Pistons in 7. I think this is going 7 games. I think it's gonna be an ugly series, just like what we saw in the Magic versus Pistons. But count me in for one game being a Karis LeVert revenge game, and one game
Oo
being
nga pala. Oh my God, Caris
and
LeVert.
another game being a Dennis Schroeder revenge game. Because he did play
May
for
mga
the
ganun
Pistons last
storyline
season.
pala eh. No?
And
Lahat naman ng teams sinalihan na ni Dennis Schroeder. So technically every series is a revenge game.
Yeah,
Maui.
I think si Dennis Jenkins is a guy to watch out for. I just want to say that also. He had a pretty good game 7. I love yung impact niya dun sa game a while ago. But I will swerve. And Harden is has been one of my favorite players ever since the OKC days. The Rockets pa, the second coming of T-Mac. Yeah, I will say that the Cavs will steal this in Game 7. No. I'll say Game 6. Even crazier. Game 6,
Whoa.
Cleveland. They will win this
Nice.
in 6 games in Cleveland. Let's see.
So, trust in James Harden ka. Trust in James Harden. Hirap no? It's hard to trust James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. They've disappointed in the previous playoffs. Pero, sige, baka ito na yung redemption ni James
Whoa.
Harden.
Sam, I just want to correct you. Si Donovan Mitchell has not disappointed anyone in the playoffs. He's always performed well. It's usually his team that
Lalo,
fails.
ako, ang classic na naalala ko yung Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray versus Utah versus Denver. That was crazy yung bubble ata yun eh. I remember it was the bubble.
They
Tapos,
each had 50. So
yeah, they each had 50. Tapos parang they were in Disneyland or something, and after the game, nagkita sila sa Disney. So it was so funny. But that was a crazy Donovan Mitchell playoff series for me.
But don't ever
sige.
say that Donovan Mitchell doesn't show up. He always shows up. He always shows up.
He's
He does
top
what he needs
7.
to.
Pero
Top 7
hindi
points per
pa
game.
sila
Playoffs.
nagfa-finals or kahit when they were number 1. Sorry, that's what
Because
I
his
meant.
team has always failed him. That's my opinion.
That's true.
I do think
That's true.
So Spira has always shown up.
So that's the problem. Spida Mitchell is relying on James Harden as his teammate for this series. Let's see if that will hold. Let's go to the last matchup for the second round of
Save
the
the best for
playoffs.
last.
Save the best ba talaga? Ayoko na nga pag-usapan, Maui. Let's talk about OKC versus the Lakers. Unfortunately, Gab.
As I said, the West matchups are less interesting than the East because I'm gonna start with the prediction. I think this is gonna be a sweep. I'm sorry, Maui. I know. Look at the regular season matchup.
Yung season
3 out of
matchup,
the-
like, yeah, tambakan.
Nearly every game was a blowout in favor of Thunder.
Yeah.
I think the closest they got was 9 points in their second match. And majority of those games, they had Luka. So now that they don't have Luka, like how?
Baka yun yung secret weapon, Gab. Pag wala si Luka, mananalo sila.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. The Lakers won against the Rockets, yes, but if you look back, they played horribly. They just watch the Rockets versus the Lakers first round matchup games, and I think you would agree with me that the Lakers did not play well for majority of that series. It's just that the Rockets played worse. The Lakers were turning the ball over incessantly, and they were not executing. They were stagnant for a ton of times. Marcus Smart made good plays, but he also made some pretty dumb plays. That is not fly against this OKC team, man. This OKC team thrives on turnovers. And they get up into you, they pressure, they play the passing lanes pretty well. They're gonna force you into a ton of turnovers. And the Lakers even have a lot of unforced turnovers. So yeah, I don't give them much of a chance. I'm sorry, I'm a Lakers fan as anyone. Sam, you know this. I've cheered for the Lakers for so long, but I told this to you guys. I told this to a bunch of my friends. Thank you, LeBron, for giving us a good first round upset for beating the Rockets. And now their reward is they're gonna get swept by the OKC Thunder. I don't no. I don't think they have enough. They don't have enough offensively to match up with OKC. Even OKC does not have Jalen Williams. There is just no way. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I watched all of the Thunder Lakers games in the regular season. Now I know the regular season is different from the playoffs, but the Lakers are just outmatched. Now they don't have Luka Doncic. I don't think he's coming back soon in this series. It's a grade 2 hamstring strain. You don't come back. Don't rush that back. You rush that back, you risk tearing it completely, and that will lead to a more long-term absence for Luka. Yeah, I was gonna say X factors for LA. I don't think there is none. I don't think they have an X factor.
Dominaton.
No,
Bronny James.
I don't think so, Sam. Even if Aiton has 20 and then I don't think they have an answer for OKC. Yeah, I don't think they have one. Okay, just force the Lakers into turnovers. That's it. Just keep the turnover number sky high, and I think that they will win this series. I don't think they'll have a problem with that. Their defense is pretty solid. Shea is gonna get his. I don't know who's gonna guard Shea. Maybe si Marcus Smart. Yikes. I think Shea is gonna cook Marcus Smart. I'm sorry, Marcus Smart. You've been awesome, but and the guys like Luke Kennard and Austin Reeves, the Thunder are gonna pick on those guys. Surely. Wala eh. I just don't see a way for the Lakers to pull out. Maybe they can surprise. Heck, I didn't have the Lakers win against the Rockets, so maybe baka nanonood si LeBron ng Boleros. Sabi, tangin ng Lakers fan to. Hindi na naniwala sa amin. Sige nga, yung manalo kami ng game 1. Let's see. I'm not optimistic, but let's see. Sige, Sammy, Maui. Maui, maybe you have more hope.
Oo nga, Maui. Please.
Actually, I was gonna say.
Please say something good.
I was gonna say it would be, it would be crazy. It would probably take a miracle for the Lakers to beat the Thunder in the second round. Even with Luka, I think the Thunder can easily beat the Lakers. But this is the NBA playoffs. It's been so unpredictable. We've seen teams like Boston get eliminated in the first round. Nikola Jokic looking like a mortal, getting eliminated also in the first round. But OKC is really the more well-rounded team, diba? From top to bottom. They do not have a lot of flaws. I think maganda yung press conference ni JJ Redick. He mentioned when Houston plays their A-tier S-tier defense, it's a normal day for the OKC Thunder. I think JJ Redick said that. I think they have their hands full. I think LeBron will probably have to time travel to 2019 or even 2018 to have a chance against this OKC Thunder team. I think their only chance is to get game 1 or game 2. Just surprise the Thunder if they can extend this series, because I think the earliest projection for Luka to come back is game 4. That's the earliest prediction. We don't even know if he can come back, as Gab mentioned, in game 4. I think the doctor's prediction is the earliest possible. If all things go right, he could probably try and play in game 4. And we don't even know if he will be effective if he comes back. So it's gonna be another tough series for the Lakers. I think their only chance is really if they get one game against the Thunder during the first 2 games. If they get 2-0, I think the best they can do is a gentleman sweep. They can probably win 1 at home and lose 2 game 4 and 5. It will take a miracle. All the Lakers fans, all the LeBron James fans, it's time to bring out your rosaries and pray to God that LeBron somehow becomes his old self and scores 40 points, gets 12 rebounds, and gets 15 assists. I think Gab is right. Even if Ayton scores 20 and 10, I think si Kennard was already exposed during the latter part of the series against the Rockets. He will be more exposed in a series where the Thunder have more talented guys who can get to the basket, who can hit from the outside, who knows how to expose mismatches. It will probably take Marcus Smart hitting 8 3-pointers, 6 to 8 3-pointers in a game for the Lakers to get an upset. It's possible, but Very, very unlikely for that to happen against this Thunder defense. Rui will have to be as hot as he was during the latter part of the first round for the Lakers to win this. I think they will even struggle to get to 100 points. But I think if some way, somehow, they can hold the Thunder to the low 100s or even below 100, that's their only chance, much like the series against the Rockets. Let's see. I think this is the biggest test of JJ Redick's career. Can he not get the Lakers swept embarrassingly? It can happen. The Thunder can blow out every game. So let's see how they perform. But if you were to ask me, I think this will be over in 5 games. The Thunder winning in game 5. But I'm still hoping for a miracle. Let's see. In the score predictor game, I will pick the Lakers to win game 1.
Shout
You
out to
heard it.
Pusupi, man. Shout out to Pusupi.
Shout out to
Let's
Pusupi.
see
You heard it here
kung
first,
sinasasalian
Maui.
will pick against Maui.
Swerving, picking the Lakers to win game 1. As much as I want to swerve, hindi ko talaga magawa. But I am giving the Lakers 1 game gentleman sweep naman para not that embarrassing. So give me Thunder in 5 games. just give us 1 win. So happy na kami.
Ang bait yung dalawa. There's no way.
There's no
Thunder
way.
and 4.
Yeah. Ano na yun? The most optimistic na yun. Like, Thunder in 5. I think for Lakers fans, that should be okay already because I would not want Luka Doncic. I would not want to force Luka Doncic to play. It's tough to beat the Thunder even if the Lakers were healthy. So for me, don't force it, Luka. Let's plan for the off season. Let's plan for next season. Let's be real, guys. Come on, real talk. Yeah. So Thunder in 5. I guess that's it for our round 2 playoff preview and our playoff predictions. As Maui mentioned, we are still doing our score prediction game on pusupi.com. So I think the round 2 games are up already. We've put in our scores. So if you want to join our score prediction group, please do click the link in the description box below. Enter for free and put in your score predictions for each game. And the person that gets the most points by the end of the playoffs get a chance to win some prizes from pusupi.com and from Boleros. We're also giving away a prize for people who join our group. So watch out for that. That's it for today's episode. Stay tuned for more NBA content here at Boleros. We'll be covering the entire playoffs. And shout out to NSAC. We already did Asia Basket NSAC. We already did the round of 16. We're done with that. They're done with that. So let's stay tuned for the next rounds. They're
Yung
done with
games
the
on
first few
Saturday.
games. But stay tuned for the next rounds, for the next games. We'll talk more about that this coming week. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Ingat.